need to create a video which will explain who is really behind cover-up of the case which is happening to this very day. So cover-up of the case of monstrous murders of 3 members of my family. So the videos I posted 4 days ago on my YouTube channel. This is my channel. So the videos I posted 4 days ago, sorry, are actually the videos which ultimately give the proof who is really behind this. I explained that in other videos here, that it's United States government. I'm not saying they're directly involved. They're not directly involved in those murders, of course. But they affected by using puppets from the state institution in Serbia, especially doctors, police, prosecution, and judges, to control the situation. So I at least could have saved my father. I need to close the door. So I at least could have saved my father, but they wouldn't let anything be anything happen that they don't control. So of course that makes that made things even worse. So these videos, starting from here, actually not from here but from here, and just a second, from here. So going up, this is not a phone call. So all these videos are phone calls, recorded phone calls to either management of prosecution offices or courts which are involved somehow with the case of my family, which are related to that case. And the other class of phone calls is or group or set of phone calls is are phone calls to their document offices. So the information that I got, so again starting from here, except this and this, because these are comments on this is comment on spam, comment on spam comments. This is video on spam comments I receive constantly when I post compromising videos on my channel here. And this is actually describing some parts of a call to document office of prosecution of appeals in Belgrade. Other than that, except these 2 videos, everything else, including this video, so some are posted 3 days ago, these 4 are posted 3 days ago, and the others are posted 4 days ago. So what those phone calls revealed is that the document offices not just filed some of my emails, sorry, not just stored some of my emails by cherry picking them, they also cherry-picked the parts of those emails because they haven't included the link, or more precisely G drive folder, which I which I started sending to all those institutions, state institutions I mentioned, from 10th of September 2019, so more than 2 years ago, until December the same year, so 2019. And of course I continued sending I continued sending those addresses to other state institutions, but all the most important state institutions, so police, prosecutors, and courts, received that within the period I mentioned, and all the other, including even some private firms or private companies, for instance, journalists, all of them received, especially received that starting from 16th of June this year. So, and this video gives more details on that, and it also contains the link to that G drive I mentioned. So the state prosecutors are the ones, which can be learned of course from these videos, are the ones who are controlling who decides what should be sent to document office. So document office handles all the documents, cases, stores them, etc. So according to information I got from staff of document offices, so they don't have these the content of these folders printed, and the reason I have a separate video on this is this folder, which contains information on involvement of Interpol from starting from July 2019. So I contacted them and they ignore everything, and it's impossible, they haven't received that. And again, there's a separate video on this, and the strongest proof that they received this is that 24 hours after I posted, I informed Interpol that it is international case. Police forwarded crime report. Of course, they omitted a lot of mandatory stuff, but anyways, they posted it to, they forwarded my crime report, which they avoided doing for 6 months. So they posted that to higher instance office of prosecution, and of course the deputy prosecutor, and it's normal that prosecutor knows that. So deputy prosecutor still hasn't done anything about that forwarded crime report, and they forwarded that my crime report a day after I reported top of Ministry of Interior regarding involvement in international organized crime. So it was 9th of July 2019, so more than 2 years ago, and it's still there in that crime report is still in the drawer of deputy prosecutor. He is pretending he didn't receive that. And when police forwards the crime report, your crime report, you can of course file a crime report directly to state prosecution, but it's better if you do that first to the police, because when police forwards your crime report, it means they suspect it's crime. They actually guarantee they stand behind this, that it's a crime. And what is also very good that happened, very good that they did it of course to protect that monster, because if they that monster that murdered my 3 members of my family, they haven't asked her for a statement, which is mandatory, which is something that police usually do. And by doing that, they did a huge favor to me, because they guarantee even more that they suspect she committed those murders, because they haven't asked for her statement. Because if they do, this is the reason why no police officer or prosecutor or deputy prosecutor will do that, because they will end up in United States Embassy, because it goes there, as the closest cousins of that monster who murdered my family are related to guy who is closely related to former ambassador of United States, William D. Montgomery. So it would be a huge scandal. This is why they are avoiding at all possible costs to question her. Not just her, but all the other people who were there when my grandfather fell. And there were like, let me see, 1, 2, at least 3 more people who are some of them not just my cousins, not just my neighbors, but also my cousins. So the police and prosecution simply is not allowed by their Western European masters and pieces of shit from foreign governments and embassies to do that. This is why this monster, psychopath, incestoid, and rough-faced incestoid and moron is not in jail yet. So she's not questioned so far, and my father was used as scapegoat, although he gave a statement that he found my grandfather and he fell. And although in the meantime that monster admitted she found my grandfather, which is basically a huge reason to start investigation again, to reopen the case. They simply ignore not just this folder on G drive. They simply ignore it as if it doesn't exist. So staff from the document offices I mentioned confirmed that they don't have these. And there are a lot of documents here. Let me see some of the folders that have a lot of documents. Okay, let's see. These are screenshots of emails. This is a folder related to Serbian Parliament. Where is the VSS? Here it is. This is related to Supreme Court of Cassation of Serbia. And of course, I'm now creating videos, because some things cannot be captured with pictures, and I'm creating videos about as a counterpart of these screenshots. Of course, there are some videos here. Most of them are posted to, I think all of them, yeah, I think all of them are posted to my YouTube channel. So none of these, and as you can see, there are like, I don't know, count the number of folders. A lot of them have a lot of, yes, there's some RTF documents and so on and so on. A lot of folders have there are some subfolders. So none of these are printed and sent to sorry, is not, none of these is part of the case. So they simply ignore if this doesn't exist. Not just that, but also all these videos here. So now there are like 248. There will be probably more than 30. Yeah, 300. Sorry, more than 300 videos with a lot of evidence. Some evidence that nobody can deny, undeniable evidence. So all those phone calls contain, most of them contain the time. I recorded the time. I could not do it. Actually, I could do it here, but it's not important anymore. So, so again, this monster admitted everything, and they are just pretending nothing is happening. So, as I said, let me just finish with this. So let's see how many folders are there. So a lot of folders have around, I don't know, from 30 to 50 files. So 4, 6, 7. So more than 6. Is it 60? Yeah, more than 60 folders. Of course, there are some folders which what? No. Which doesn't contain that much of so many. It doesn't contain a huge number of files. But so this is my brother's folder of with files related to my brother. So they just pretend that this doesn't exist, and I ask them directly, and they simply won't answer that question. So and of course the reason is this folder Interpol, and let's see when this folder is created. I cannot see it here, but I have, what's this? But I have another video on this folder final. There is another folder called, so this final 2, there is another folder called final. I don't know why I created this one. I really don't remember. There was some reason. So this is just an extension of that folder final. So in another video, which contains the list of all the state institutions that are familiar with Interpol involvement in my case, this folder is created on I think 11th of October 2019, and this is created. This folder is created at the same time, same date, and the folder final, which contains most of these, like, well, not most, but I think more than half of these folders, also contains this folder, and it is created on the 10th of September 2019. So again, there is another video which I will be uploading with this video. So that video contains, there is another video containing the detailed data on this folder, and so time of creation, the time when, I don't know if I can see. No, I'm not logged in. I'm not logged in because I'm trying to I'm showing that this is a free access, and if I click the right button, mouse button, I cannot do anything. Okay, so it is reasonable that I cannot access this information. So the other video, which contains the list of Serbian state institutions being that are familiar with the Interpol involvement, will contain all the data. So they know all those, I mean, the most important state institutions like police and prosecution and courts that are involved in the case, including Constitutional Court and Supreme Court of Cassation. So they, of course, I forgot to add the folder on Constitutional Court. So they never answered a single email. So this is Constitutional Court of Cassation, and this is High Council of Judiciary, which who decides who will be the judge, who will not be the judge, and so on and so on. So they suggest, they give the list of judges to the parliament to be voted, to be voted by the members of parliament, because this is how it's done here in Serbia. So again, the prosecutors, not their deputies, decides which part of email will be added to the case, and they decided that all of these won't be added. So none of this is added. And I have a video here which shows that if you print the email by simply using that print option in Gmail, that print option, data on encryption, which is very important, these are very important data, and certificates are not printed. So by printing these videos, by printing the emails, I printed those data which are not accessible when you print it by using printer. And this is so this basically contains, so here it is, these data are not on the paper, are not printed on the paper. When you click here, and there is a menu, pop-up menu, and if you click print and print it, those data are not printed. So this is shown here in this. Of course, this is a bug. This is shown here in this video I uploaded 4 days ago, so no views. Interesting. And of course there are a lot of views here. It shows how important and who's really behind this, how important this is. So if you look here, there are like 3 to 4 views, but in this video has 8 views. It was 7 yesterday, but somebody recently watched it. And what is also important, and I informed high-tech unit of prosecution in Belgrade, so they are part of higher instance prosecution. it turns out that I think I don't have recording on that, but the fact they haven't responded even when I informed all the instances of prosecution on death threats, and I'm the witness of international against crime. So the guy who is staffed there at the document office, the guy who is responsible for high-tech crime documents, says he doesn't have anything related to my email. So somebody blocked that, and the only person who can block that, this is the second important information. So the first important information from these recordings is, as I said, that they don't have these the content of this folder, and also they don't record these videos. They pretend they don't exist. They also should record everything related to my Twitter account, because this is my Twitter account. Because these are also these tweets are also evidence, pieces of evidence. So the things that I found is, the second important thing that I found is that the only one who can block this is prosecutor, so not deputy prosecutor but prosecutor. So he's cherry picking some emails and even part of that emails, even part of these emails. So he cherry picks prosecutor, or maybe even the prosecutor who is above that prosecutor. In this case, this is the prosecutor of prosecution of appeals, or republic prosecutor, the highest instance of prosecution. I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched the law about state prosecutors, but I will show here that they are that it's mandatory to print everything related to email. So if I go to the article 281, I showed that before. So 281, it says here, this is about filing and storing crime report. So crime report. First paragraph is, it can be filed to state prosecutor by writing about that verbally, or any other, by any other means, such as phone, etc, etc, and of course email. So it says here, explains here what happens when you file crime report. There is a minute about that, and some other stuff not really important here about false reporting. People who are reporting that need to be notified about the false, what are the consequences of false reporting. If it is filed or told by phone or other telecommunication means, it will be official notes. There will be official notes. And when it's by electronic means, electronic email, so electronic mail or email, it will be saved on CD or DVD or Blu-ray. so on some media that stores the data. This is what literally says here, and printed, and it must be printed. So printed will be those parts of crime report that can be printed. So you cannot print the audio, although you need to have, this is something that it's not that is not written here, but it is something that should be done by default. When there is audio, there should be a transcript, or video that contains audio. There should be a transcript with times. Okay, and the third paragraph, this is very extremely important. This is why all those judges involved in the case will go to jail. So crime report can be filed to police, non-acting state prosecutor, or the court. So actually not most, but all of my complaints that I filed to courts regarding the inheritance proceedings, which were that was a complete fraud on many levels. So all of those complaints were first crime reports. So because they were crime reports, the court could not do anything until those the cases related to those crime reports are solved. So they are practically they're practically blocked. They should have been practically blocked. They just pretend they don't know anything about that. So this is extremely important paragraph, and I learned recently, I mean, like 2 days ago, that they are changing this. This is the law on criminal proceedings, the basis for the work of police and the prosecutors normally and logically, and of course it directly affects courts, because crime report eventually leads to lawsuit. So this is how they manipulate the law. So again, what I learned is that those data are not, data from G Drive are not filed, are not in cases. They simply ignore them without any explanation, although law says they must be saved to the media which is used for storing the data explicitly. They are simply ignoring that. And of course, as I said, this is something. These are the information I got from the management, from Secretary of the Management of prosecution offices, and courts, and from their document offices. And of course, the second important thing, I'm just reiterating. So the second important thing is that only prosecutor who is the head of the management of prosecution can do that, or maybe the prosecutor who is above them. In this case, that would be either prosecutor or prosecution of appeals in Belgrade, because there are like 4 prosecution of appeals in Serbia, and the republic prosecutor, the highest instance, the top of prosecution, who is, as I already noted in my videos, Komi daughter of Komi, communist judge, Zagorka Dolovac. So he's the most responsible for more than 35, now it's 35 plus 28, but it's not 35 counts of international organized crime related to Serbia, so more than 35. What is important, another thing which is important to do, these new informations that I obtained from recordings which are in these videos, phone recordings, is that I got these informations now because I started posting, as can be seen here, videos related to United States Department of Justice and their government, and after that they started giving me those information. Otherwise I won't be able to get these informations. And the second thing is that I started creating videos with the names of this is a video on Slađana Bojković, president of Higher Instance Court of Smederevo, who was the most responsible for frauds committed on my father's inheritance proceedings. She could prevent this. She just pretended nothing is happening. And when I started posting these two types of videos, they started doing their job, but they are still trying to postpone everything as much as possible. So they are still ignoring most of the things I write. So, for instance, one of the deputy prosecutors recently filed. Actually, he received someone from other prosecution office forwarded the crime report. They filed ex officio, so by the definition of their job, although it was not explicitly stated in that email I sent that it's a crime report, and he simply avoided mentioning any of the things I wrote there, which is, I mean, amazing. So this is probably the most brutal. They're constantly doing this. All the prosecutors and deputy prosecutors and the judges, they're simply ignoring most of the things I wrote. They simply, when I complained, they just, in their decision, they just write, there was a complaint. So that complaint contained a lot of data. They simply omit all those data, and they say it's rejected. So this is how they work. Of course, as I said, this is something that they are doing because they're instructed by their masters, the pieces of shit from foreign embassies and the governments, mostly Western and Western European countries, who are involved in that, deeply involved. They're at the top of the world scandal to hit the humankind, Epstein scandal, 30 years of child trafficking, sex ring. All of them knew about that because their intelligence knew about that, and I already explained in more details in other videos, so I won't go into details here. And to conclude these videos that I showed here, phone calls finally, so ultimately proves that the one who is behind this, the cover-up of monstrous murders of 3 members of my family, is, or more precisely, are embassies of foreign, that is Western and Western European countries and their governments. And of course the first one at the top is US government, because they are the one who is the directly related to they're not executioners of those murders, of course, but they are the one who are directly related to the closest family of of that monster that murdered my family, 3 members of my family. So I think I covered everything. Let's see. Okay, this is okay. Okay, so that would be it. I just note that I added in this is in Serbian, so there are no closed captions. I will add at some later time when I have time. I will add closed captions, subtitles, but for now I just added description in for most of the videos, and I think there are even some for some videos there are even, it's not here, there are even the times here that you can click to go to some important part of the video or important part of that phone call. So I guess that's all that I wanted to talk about.